On to a couple games on the Sunday card. First up, Creighton at St. John's. Alluded to this earlier, but Creighton upsetting UConn. We touched on that. I hit on the Blue Jays earlier in the week as a 3-point home dog against the Huskies, but now they're projected to be about a 3-point road favorite at St. John's. Haslam makes this closer to Blue Jays -4. I have it around Creighton -2.5, so a little bit on the outside of the potential point spread, and Haslam on the other. Where does shot quality have this one, Justin?
Right at 4 as well. 75-71 win for Creighton. Creighton, man, one of the epitomes of shot qualities, I guess, tactics. And literally Simon was on a show, a podcast we just retweeted from the shot quality account. He says, this is probably his favorite team just in terms of the way that they're built, their ability to shoot the three, the spacing, number 1 team in shot making, number 3 team in rim and 3 shot quality points per possession, number 11 in spacing. It's really, really cool to see. And then they do it again the other way, right? So number 1 in rim and 3 rate allowed, number 1 in shot selection allowed. So they're playing really sharp on both sides of the ball. The mid-range against Creighton, they face the 5th most mid-range in the country. That's not an accident. They're not exactly incredible at defending it, average 158th, but that's still 0.8 points per possession. It's so different than when you get to the rim or take threes. Even if you're good at defending the 3, achieving a 0.8 point per possession is hard to do when the makes are worth 3 points. So Creighton's been really good. I'm going to this game. I'm really excited about this one. I got my tickets. I'm going to be sitting in the first bowl, going with my dad, who really, I don't think he's been to a St. John's game in Manhattan since he was studying at CUNY Queens in, the 1980s. So this is going to be a really cool one for me. I'll be there. I'll be enjoying it. I tend to think I will be staying off and just enjoying the game. But if I had to take a bet, I'd probably fading St. John's. I've been watching a lot of the season. The comments in the media, I wouldn't really pay much mind to it. If you know a lot about Rick Pitino, he just likes to hear himself sort of say these crazy things, and players sort of understand its motivation, and he's just a sicko who wants to win, and I love that about him. But I do think this is going to be a huge point for them to push, but it's Madison Square Garden. I think we're going to see a show. They got their win against Georgetown. That wasn't pretty. I think this could be a loss for sure. Creighton's shooting, it could be just awesome. I think the fans will be out more for a show from Creighton, maybe more than the St. John's faithful. I don't know if, they're not filling that stadium. It's hard to do. So it can feel a little empty. It still can get kind of loud. And the UConn game was I think one of the first true sellouts that we saw there. But again, that was the away fans piling in for UConn coming down from Hartford. So they got washed. So I do think it's still a little bit of a tough spot here for Rick Pitino and his team. I've seen just some ineptitude as a fan from some of the guards who are definitely having difficulty defensively. Soriano's awesome, but he's just not the player that I think that we need him to be right now. I think next year's prospects look great, but for now, you can probably take Creighton.
I'm with you on maybe that was a little bit of fandom to stay away on your side of things.
That's why I'm not betting it. That's why it's a no bet.
Right.
Going to the game, watching it. Out of the games we talked about here, probably take my opinion with the least amount of credence on this one because I am brainwashed from being 2 miles from the stadium.
I have fun at the game, A.
Thank you.
B, I think there's a little bit of an edge to St. John's, and I don't have a big enough edge to advocate for it, but
sure.
Creighton did a great job game planning wise against UConn, not only getting that 3-point variance positively, but also they blitzed every ball screen. They didn't allow UConn to get 3-point looks. They got some help with Donovan Clingan sitting on the bench for a half of the first half. So that allowed Kalkbrenner to dominate down low, and Ashworth was hitting everything in sight, 5 of 13 from 3 over his last, I think it's 11 games, 15.2 points per game, 4 boards a game, 5 assists, 39% from 3, and just 1.5 turnovers during this 11-game stretch. So he has really come on and adjusted to the Big East after playing in a mid-major in the Mountain West. Not that that's a easy conference by any stretch. But St. John's, revenge on its mind. Remember that wasn't just a loss at Creighton. They probably should have gotten a foul call and had a chance to win the game at the line with Dingle. And despite the defensive issues, especially on fast break opportunities, that's also another thing. If Creighton gets out and leaks out in transition, big issue for Creighton against Georgetown, 16 points in transition for the Hoyas. It's been an issue for St. John's all season long. I think there was actually something to be said for what Pitino remarked about or had to say about his players with Soriano and Ledlum with their lateral quickness, because this team can't defend in transition. So if Creighton is dominating in that regard and St. John's can't set its defense, then I think Creighton should cover this number. But if St. John's attacks the drop coverage well, and Denise Jenkins has a big game in the mid-range against that caulk drop coverage, then they're able to set, maybe pressure the ball against Ashworth, generate some turnovers.
Yep.
Could cover, could pull off the upset, but stay away game for me.
Yeah, Soriano could be that, could get into Kalkbrenner and on the road. Look, I don't want to say that Klingon getting those early fouls is the entire reason that UConn had trouble, but it certainly doesn't help. So there's so many factors, obviously, right? And like we talk about games. I like to say usually I handicap games within the middle of the curve, assuming that's what we're going to see, right? And you need to, there could be that occurrence where Kalkbrenner's out with fouls early and St. John's is able to really run the ball and penetrate inside and use him off the pick and roll action to do some damage. And maybe, Ashworth has a colder game. It's probably not going to be as hot. Excuse me. But yeah, stay away for sure. It's going to be back and forth. There's probably going to be good opportunities to get in on both sides at plus money. If you want a good fun live betting opportunity, that's probably how I'll play it. I'll be at they're playing both sides.